Hey, Dr. Z here for this week's edition of Pickin and Puttin. There you go. It's the Halloween edition. I got my spider friend here along and my witch's hat here. I got everything, all the equipment needed for this show. Well, today's show is called Halloween Spooky Records in Sports. So behind me there is Transylvania, and that's Dracula's castle. So I thought you guys would get a kick. I made a quick trip over there to do this, to film this video today. So first thing out, I got to do two shout outs. One, a happy one to Calvin Cunningham, who turns, I think, 63 today. Calvin, happy birthday to you and all those people out there at QHC, home of the President's Cup in 2022. Also, a shout out, sadly, to two very close friends who passed away suddenly in the last couple of weeks. One is Mr. Philip Gilboy, who was one of the first friends I ever made when I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in the mid 80s. And he's a Midwest boy. We had the same roots. He had red hair, was a Cubs fan. He was one of my favorite people. So I just want to do a shout out to him. And the other one is to Tina Carlton, RN. She was a young lady who trained with me when I was a young heart surgeon. She was a young nursing student. Went on to raise three beautiful girls. She was in her early 50s, 52. Her husband had died early. She had just done a fabulous job. She was living down at the beach in North Carolina and working for a national company, and she was just a spectacular lady. And she suddenly lost her life to a violent act. So what can I say? Two people who, just remember today's the only day that's given to you, so enjoy. Well, let's go into this. First, I wanted to give you a trivia question. I'll come back with the answer later because there ain't no way you're going to know the answer to this. What record has never been broken in athletics? That's the generic word there, athletics. What record has never been broken? Okay, so my song today, I figured, what the heck? It's October, it's Halloween, we got to celebrate. So my song today is Thriller. Well, we all know Michael Jackson, and he recorded this in 1983. It was produced by, of course, the famous Quincy Jones and written by Rod Templeton. So it was it reached number 4 on the Billboard charts, and of course, we all know it was famous for the Vincent Price rap. And we'll get into that a little later as I'll give you a little exit quote from Mr. Price, who had that wonderful voice like that. And one of the biggest selling years, of course, for the album and the song was 2009, when, of course, Michael Jackson passed away. The music video on MTV from December of 1983, directed by John Landis, is still one of the most famous videos and considered the landmark music video of all time. His zombie dance and his iconic red jacket, it was voted the most successful music video of all time. Well, Templeton, the interesting part about this is, so we all know how at the end, Vincent Price in the video does his thing. Well, Templeton composed his dialogue in the taxi on the way to the studio on the day of recording. Isn't that interesting thing? You'll hear about guys who write songs, how it's always done spontaneously, just in the middle of the night, in the way to the shower, who knows where, but that's it. In fact, another interesting thing is the engineer on the case, Bruce Schweiden, he set up recorders in his yard to do howls of his Great Dane that he was going to use on the video. So his dog didn't howl that night, and he wasn't able to record any dog howling. So Michael Jackson did all of the dog howling on that video himself. There's a little insider tip you didn't know. Michael did the howling. So that's pretty cool too. It reached number 1 the most times through the years in what country? This is another little trivia question you wouldn't think of. Close to that place behind us, Spain, España. Fue el número 1 en España. That's very cool too. So I thought that was a cool little tidbit. So let's go into some records. Going to be a short talk today, but I thought you'd have fun hearing these. So I have a few for you. What are the most unbreakable records? Well, we can all come up with some. If you go through them and you think of Joe DiMaggio or you name the sport, you can think of one. Well, one of the most iconic was Cy Young, who, of course, the pitching award is named after. He had 749 complete games. Think about that for a second. If you go through the 2022 season, you might find 10. They don't pitch complete games anymore. It's just not done. So that's a crazy record that'll stand the test of time. And of course, Wayne Gretzky, who got 9 MVPs in hockey. That's almost unobtainable. Johnny Unitas had 47 consecutive games with TD passes. That's pretty good. I could see somebody getting close, but 47's crazy. I mean, think about it now. That would be 2.5 years, and he threw a touchdown in all 18 games every year. That would be tough to do. Now, the one that came to mind for me from Pennsylvania, Hershey, long time ago, 1962, March 2nd, a day after a very famous day, my birthday, almost, Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points as the Philadelphia Warriors beat the New York Knicks 169-147. Is that not a crazy record? I always like that one. And here's another one. In that season, Wilt the Stilt averaged 50.4 points a game. And that's without a three-point shot. Now, granted, he's taking a lot of shots from about 6 inches, but that's okay. The longest standing record in athletics, and remember when we say athletics, that means track and field and other sports besides the major ones we think of, was by Jamila Krat Ochalova. And it's in the 1,800 meters. Say that name 3 times real fast, and you won't be able to find it on Google. So I'm not even going to say it again. But it's in the 1,800 meters, and that record has stood for 36 years. So that's a crazy one. Here's one I really like too. What's the most goals in a soccer game in a 90-minute game? You got this one? 31. In a World Cup qualifier in 2002, Australia beat America's Samoa. Man, I'm not even sure about that one. And they didn't have the linebacker from Pittsburgh with his hair being redone playing for him, or they'd have done better than that. And then here's a few I've got that I think are really interesting to me, and I think you'll agree. Jack Nicklaus, 18 majors. Well, Tiger was going to blow past that, but then life got in the way. And I don't know, that's a generational talent. I mean, we go back through the last 100 years of golf, and you can go Bobby Jones, Ben Hogan, Sam Snead. I mean, Byron Nelson winning 11 tournaments in a row. That's not going to happen again. That's crazy. In fact, he won one of those in Durham at Hope Valley Country Club, just for you Southern folks listening out there. Richard Petty, 200 wins in NASCAR, Winston Cup, whatever cup you want to call it. 200 wins is a hell of a lot of racing wins, and still walk away living. Rocky Marciano, 49-0 and 43 by KO. That's attainable by somebody great coming along, but still think about it. That's been around 70 years. Jerry Rice, 22,895, the most receiving yards by a lot. Now that one, as the game changes, I can see somebody who plays sticks with a player like Kansas City or one of these great young quarterbacks. That's obtainable. Martina Navratilova had 6 consecutive Wilmingtons, 6 in a row. That's crazy. And here's one with the dominance of Alabama in the last 8-9 years with Coach Saban. Think about this. in 1957, Oklahoma had 47 straight wins, and that still stands the test of time. And that's a pretty tough one to break. I did mention Byron Nelson's 11 straight PGA Tour wins after World War II. Here's one that this is unbreakable, basically. Antonio Cromartie returned a field goal that was missed 109 yards. Now, you know that we've all seen that, and that just not going to happen. And here's another one for all you younger folks who never saw John Wooden or UCLA in basketball. They won 7 NCAA titles in a row. Now that's just, I just don't ever see that happening again. And that's a crazy one to go through. If you want to pull up a fun one to look at, if you ever like horse racing, pull up the 1973 Belmont Stakes and watch Secretariat go to a 31 length win. That's maybe Seabiscuit, but that's the greatest horse you've ever heard of or seen. Back to Cy Young, he had 511 career wins. That's golly nets. If these guys, there are a few of them like the Rocket that got to 300. Well, that's, you're just not going to see these guys get there anymore because they just don't pitch that much, and they protect them. And I understand, but that's the game. Joe DiMaggio's 56 game hitting streak. That's a crazy one, along with Cal Ripken, which is probably my number one. 2,632 consecutive games played, ending on September 20th, 1998. Hard to believe that's already been 24 years since he broke that record in Baltimore. But that to me is a crazy, unobtainable record. Well, before I go, I want to wish you all a happy Halloween, and Dracula back there, he's hanging out waiting for you along with my spider here. We're going to hand out those Heath bars, but whatever you're giving, give a lot of it, folks, and be good to those kids. The trivia question answer, and I'm sure this was on the tip of your tongue, was Uwe Hahn, UWE. In 1986, in July, he threw the javelin 104.80 meters. And the experts and the people who know about the javelin say this record will never be broken. Well, I got no idea on that one, but that's a crazy one. And lastly, before I go, I want to leave you with this quote from the great Vincent Price. Go look him up. And what he says, and it's totally relevant today, in art, religion, and politics, the respect must be mutual, no matter how violent the disagreement. Think about that. We could all listen to Vincent Price say that again to our ears today. Wish you all a happy holiday season. I'll be back. Probably we'll have a turkey shoot here coming up in a couple weeks, and we'll go from there. As I said, happy birthday to Calvin. My memories are with the Gill boys and the Carltons and those young ladies, and God be with you. That's this week's edition of Pickin and Puttin, the record Halloween special. We're on all the platforms. Like us, send us, do whatever. I'm just having a good time, whether you listen or you don't. And if you watch on YouTube, we'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Best. Doc Z signing out here, baby, along with Spider-Man up here. Later.